Welcome on into Love of the Star. Week 1 is here. Zach Wolchuk alongside Brian Broaddus as the Cowboys are opening the season just a few days away, Thursday night in Philly. A lot to get into. But Brian, I can officially say Love of the Star is proudly presented.
Oh, here we go.
Time Experts, the official AC heating and plumbing partner for the Dallas Cowboys. This is awesome. We're very, very excited to have On-Time Experts on board with us. They've got same day or you don't pay policy for repairs, 100% satisfaction guarantee, no excuses, no exceptions. They're friendly, background check technicians. You'll feel super comfortable having them in your home. I know me, having my daughter, I want to make sure I can trust the people that I'm letting into my house. You don't have to worry about that with the On-Time Experts. They're transparent with pricing, no surprises, add-ons, or hidden fees. I love them. You'll love them. Make sure if you've got any plumbing, AC, heating issues, you check out our friends with the On-Time Experts. But big day for you, Brian Broaddus. You're looking dapper, first of all, but
Thank you.
you're an absolutely gorgeous room. Maybe the sexiest room I've ever seen, as it is the debut of Crown Media. Let's go, baby.
Thank you very much. It's been a good couple of years working on this. A lot of people have put into it. This morning, Vaj Lombardi and I taped our first episode, and then we also did our first telestration on how to slow down Jalen Hurts. So should be a lot of fun this year working from the studios, but really do love the fact that I get to continue on with my Love of the Star stuff and the stuff that you and I do with Eric and Lucius and Gavin Dawson at 105.3 The Fan. So looking forward to a really good year. Hopefully, I know we'll be up to snuff. I just hope the team's up to snuff for us this year.
Yeah, and hey, it doesn't get easy. Week 1 against the Eagles. The Cowboys might have a little bit of the element of surprise on their side, at least offensively. But we got a lot to talk about with Deron Bland, the contract stuff. But let's focus on first here some of the injury updates, if we can. And Tyler Guyton, Trayvon Diggs, both practicing. Any updates there on them trending positively or maybe not so positively to play at least against the Eagles?
Yeah, we'll start on the one with Diggs. And this is what I was told, that they were really interested in ramping him up to an 8-week conditioning period. And matter of fact, when the team was off last week for the 3 days that the league mandatory has to give, Diggs was at the Star working out on his conditioning. So they're doing their very best to get him ready. As we get through the practice today, and then we'll have an off day, and then we'll get back at it. So it's coming fast and furious. But it sounds like to me that just talking that might be week 2. Again, need to circle back around and find out. Have not heard any more of an update. But what I was initially told, they were looking at week 2. Things might change. You never know. The thing with Guyton, he was trending in the way of being able to be available. Now, the question that you have to ask yourself as the Cowboys is, do you go with Nate Thomas as the starter at left tackle, being that Guyton has did not go through training camp, but he has been practicing the last few practices they've had, and hopefully that would be an indication that maybe he could play. So both these guys will probably know here in the next couple of days where they stand. My guess is that Diggs might be the one that we wait on week 2, and Guyton would maybe be available for you this week.
Either way, credit to Diggs. I mean, we were questioning.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How quick is he going to be able to get back? He's put in the work, and it does. I mean, everything that he's been saying in terms of even his relationship with Britt, he just wanted to get his stuff done, and his brothers had returns doing the same thing from ACL issues sooner than later. So shout out to Diggs, and hopefully we can get Tyler Guyton out there. I still probably would feel better about Guyton, but I guess with both him and Nate Thomas, it's a lot of unknown. A lot of these guys need to go out there and prove it.
No, you're absolutely right. That's where I think it's unfortunate that he got injured It's unfortunate he missed time, but man, Nate Thomas did some positive things. Nate Thomas, fit in well. There didn't seem to be a huge drop off. It even got to the point where he was better than Awesome Richards,
Mhm.
and that was something I was kind of keeping an eye on. Could Awesome Richards be in a battle with Guyton for that left tackle spot? Well, it never materialized that way. It was always Nate Thomas, and to be honest with you, Zach, when we were at camp, the OTAs and the mini camps, Nate Thomas was the backup right tackle.
Mhm.
That was a little bit of a surprise. So he has come a long way in a very, very short period of time.
The other thing yesterday that was maybe a little scary, Perion Winfrey, who we were all just hoping would make the team, and we about lost our minds when we had gotten the initial report. Maybe he didn't. Thank goodness that ended up being not correct, and you were all over that on the G-Bag Nation. That's why you stay locked in on what Brian Broaddus has given us. But Perion Winfrey looked like he walked off the field, maybe a little bit of a back issue, so we'll have to
Yeah.
monitor that as well heading into Thursday night.
Yeah, it looked like back tightness, so hopefully that loosened up for him. We'll see, in fact, if he could be able to practice. But I kind of feel like that you need Winfrey to be involved. I think that would be a really good combination with him and Kenny Clark and what they could potentially do. We'll see. To me, that really the strength of this Eagles offensive line is their offensive tackles, where you can maybe attack them a little differently is inside. Now we've heard, myself and Vaj Lombardi, we broke down, ways to attack Jalen Hurts today. And one of them was through the middle of the pocket. If you go back and you watch Steen play against the Giants with some power, he got walked a couple of different times into Jalen Hurts. So, but everybody in Philadelphia will tell you like, oh no, he's had a good camp. He's in. Well, I believe you. I believe you've had a good camp, but also let's see you translate the good camp to being able to block. To be able to block with the Oso Digizua and Winfrey and Kenny Clark.
Yeah, Steen, you could look at him as probably the weak link on that offensive line.
Former
From
tackle,
Alabama.
former
Yep.
offensive tackle,
And he might be better at guard.
Lighter. Yeah, might be a little light too at the position because, like I say, then the Giants have got big inside players, but you'll see that if you get underneath him, you could take him back to the quarterback. So that will be where I believe that's where I would start. Because like I said, when you start talking about dealing with Jordan Mailata, when you start talking about dealing with Lane Johnson, when you start talking, and I think Landon Dickinson, I think he's going to play. I do. And so, you've got to be able to find that spot where you might have an opportunity to win a battle or two.
Yeah, Landon Dickerson's been practicing, and it does sound like you're absolutely right that he's going to give this a go. So I think the Eagles, for the most part, are going to be at full strength. I guess the question for them is going to be in the secondary and what exactly they want to do with Cooper DeJean. They've talked about him maybe playing some safety this offseason, and then does he move and play that nickel corner when they move into out of their base defense? We'll have to see, because that is something where, Darius Slay no longer there. Quinyon Mitchell obviously is a young star, but their other quarterback right now, Keely Ringo, the former Georgia Bulldog, and they've also got a Dory Jackson who's kind of bounced around within the NFC East.
Yeah, it sounds like a Dory Jackson might be the starter in this thing this week. So, maybe with Ringo, they're not as confident. We'll see, but the early indications are that Dory Jackson will be the starter in this game this week. So, that's something that, that's a veteran out there, guy that runs pretty well. But now he's going to have to deal with, he's going to have to deal with Lamb, and then he's going to also have to deal with Pickens. And so, to me, that's one of those things. I think that either cornerbacks, but when you start to talk about Mitchell and DeJean, those are two of the better cornerbacks, and especially with DeJean playing the nickel, he is really good inside. And so I would find ways not to have to attack him or Mitchell for that regard. I think they're both very, very good young players.
And I'm excited to see, the Cowboys rushing attack. I think that was something we were so excited about with the addition of Clayton Adams and what he was able to do with the running game in Arizona. And you saw a little bit of variation, I think, of, when it comes to the pulling guards and the traps and what they were doing in the final preseason game. But if I look at this Eagles front, much like you said, their strength on offense is their tackles. Their strength on defense is their defensive tackles. They're a little bit undersized. I mean, we've had a lot of talk about Micah Parsons, right? And Jerry Jones. Well, we want to be able to stop the run better. Well, Jalex Hunt's an undersized edge. Nolan Smith's an undersized edge. Can you find a way, if it's counters or if it's the crack toss game, whatever it might be, can we find a way to kind of attack the edge of this Philadelphia defense? And that's where maybe we'll see, hey, those corners do come into play a little bit. Adoree Jackson, do you want to come up and set the edge? I do think Quinyon Mitchell's one of those guys that's willing to do it, but that might be the way that you need to test this Eagles defense running the football.
Yeah, their linebackers are good too, though. But yeah, I think when you start to mention, do you want to try and run the ball inside? I think it's going to be difficult that way. I think everything out on the edge, and I'm saying on the edge, I'm not talking about the crack tosses and the sweeps and stuff like that. I think that you can kind of get run down that way. But yeah, if you want to take the ball and maybe you take advantage of them being super aggressive with the way they try and attack upfield, maybe you get the movement one way and then cut the ball back. We've seen where they've had some success, being able to read off of what BB's block is, what Smith's block is, and then also to Booker on the back side there, if in case he's that guy. But I think that where this game for the Cowboys is clearly going to hinge on their ability for their inside three to deal with the inside three for the Philadelphia Eagles. That included the linebackers as well.
You are listening to the Love of the Star podcast. Love of the Star is an Audacy podcast. You can find it on the Audacy app or wherever you get your podcast. Make sure you check out our friends over at the On Time Experts as well. You just give them a call. They're going to come to your home the same day. Visit them on ontimeexperts.com and click the book now button. You pay less over time. They're correctly going to diagnose your issue. And they're going to fix it right the first time. So you're not having them come back, redo this thing. That's the greatness of the On Time Experts. Okay, we got contract news, Brian. Oh, it's your favorite topic, contracts.
Yeah.
Deron Bland got done. Now, I know I think the majority of Cowboy fans we've kind of turned the page and it's like, all right, Mike is gone. And some of us will always be frustrated with maybe the timing in which they did it, the team that they traded him to, maybe hopeful they could have gotten more back. Either way, this thing's done. And football's weird, Brian, where, I don't know, something like this, I always just kind of wonder, and maybe it's just me trying to find hopium and optimism. Like, can a team get galvanized? Can you come together? Like the addition by subtraction thing. It's not to say Micah Parsons isn't awesome. He's a great football player. But Kenny Clark does help what was a weakness on this team. And I think we all felt the strength was they have depth at pass rusher. Now, they lost their best one, and maybe were soured a little bit because Sam Williams didn't look great in preseason games. And I think Donovan Ezeraku was trying out a lot of stuff as well. I still believe in him. I think he's going to be a good player, but you got Dante Fowler, who had 10 sacks. Marshawn Nealand, I think, is a better edge rusher than we definitely thought he was going to be when the Cowboys drafted him. So they've still got players that can get after the passer. Do they have anybody that teams are going to have to game plan for like they did with Micah Parsons? No. But defense is such a team game. I wonder if we'll see this defense actually come together and play better, all 11 aligned with one common goal, and this defense maybe surprises some people.
Yeah, that's your absolute hope. And what you also have to kind of realize is, and could Matt Eberflus turn into what Dan Quinn was when he left Atlanta? And just give me a little latitude on this, and I say it this way. If you look at Matt Eberflus last year with, say, the Chicago Bears, they were 27th in the league when it came to press coverage. They played off coverage 59% of the time, which that was the 6th most in the NFL. So that tells you a lot of zone coverage there. They played the fewest slot snaps in the National Football League. They were 29th. The fewest press man snaps in the NFL. They ranked 30th there. I just wonder, Dan Quinn talked about reinventing himself, and getting away from certain things that he felt comfortable with, whether it was with when he was at Seattle and how they played their scheme. And then he adjusted to the players he had in Dallas and was able to discover Micah Parsons, due to the injury to Tank Lawrence in that the week of the Chargers game. And then they found a potential Hall of Fame pass rusher that way. I just wonder if, in fact, that Eberflus will play less zone coverage and play more man coverage. He's going to want to rush 4. The question you have to ask yourself now is, without Micah Parsons, can he afford to rush 4 and can he get away with it? They're going to have to figure out ways to not just the sacks. Micah Parsons creates pressure. His ability to be on the field is a problem. He wrecks blocking schemes. Are teams going to be able to scheme against Dallas now easier without Micah Parsons being on the field? And is that going to force Matt Eberflus to have to do more things with blitzes and more things with man coverage? I think he's going to have to.
I agree.
I think he's going to have to. I don't think he could be Matt Eberflus, play zone coverage the whole day and expect that he's not going to get, a little bit chewed up. Now it would be better when it's Bland and Diggs and potentially Elam. It will be better. But without Parsons, it just creates a whole different dynamic for his defense. And I don't know if he could just sit there and stay in zone coverage and think that is going to be the best way to play. He's, the one thing Stephen Jones said, and he was adamant about this. He says, talking to Flus, there are ways to manufacture pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that he is a man of his word, because if this team plays just 4-man rush and sits in zone all day, I think it'll get chewed up.
Agreed, 100%.
I think it'll get chewed up. And I would much rather to see them try and gamble to make things happen than to sit back and hope that things will just work out playing zone and rushing 4 all day.
And I think that your defense, from a play style, I think they're better equipped to play man. Like, I think Bland's a better man.
I think they are too. I think they are
too. Same thing, right? So, if you're playing your personnel strength, I agree with you 100%. And Maris Leofau has proven to be a really good blitzer. Whenever you're able to get DeMarvion Overshown back, I think that's an element that makes him special, being able to go downhill and wherever you want to send him, along the edge, along the A gap, the B gap. Overshown's been an absolute game wrecker with that stuff as well. So you've got players that you can utilize as chess pieces in that way to try and simulate the pressure that Stephen was talking about. I love what you said there about what Flus is going to have to do, Brian.
I think so. I just don't think it, and that's my hope. These last coordinators that have come through, whether it's been Quinn, Zimmer, they've had to adjust to the type of personnel you have. And maybe in training camp, he didn't show us everything that he was going to do. But like I say, I just worry if you say rush 4 without Micah Parsons and play zone coverage, it could be some long days.
Now, I don't want to put you on the spot here. If the answer is no, that's totally fine. But obviously, people are tuning into Love of the Star to try and get some, inside behind the scenes info. Since the last time we talked about the Micah trade, have you heard any more stuff behind the scenes of what went down, if that was the best offer they could get? I know other people have thrown out like the number of 5 or 6 teams that also at least expressed interest, but I don't know. I couldn't get any clarification that like firm offers were even made by anybody else.
Yeah, I couldn't either. I mean, and I really have tried to reach out to some folks and says, I know Tom Pelissaro was on the Rich Eisen show, and Tom was talking about that there were multiple teams involved, and I find that hard to believe. If there were multiple teams involved and some of them were AFC teams, to me that seems like a pretty logical place to try and trade him out of the conference, and so to me, did anybody offer better than what Green Bay did? I think Tom, the way he was trying to explain it, he was kind of guessing a little bit and saying, well, yeah, it's Micah Parsons. There's plenty of teams involved, but I would like to keep on this and try and get an idea. Was Green Bay the only team that was involved, or was Green Bay the only team that was willing to offer the 2 first-round picks? Those are the couple things that we need to learn.
And I got to say, watching college football this weekend, just now with the possibility that some of these quarterbacks, like watching your guy Nuss, and big win for your Tigers, baby, and the LSU Tigers, big win, watching Lenora Sellers for South Carolina. Just it does make watching some of these guys that are going to be coming out in the next year or two with the potential that the Cowboys just might be in play. Maybe they've got the ammunition to go up and get them. It makes it a little bit more fun getting to watch some of these college quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think, like you said, there are a couple of quarterbacks that were, the one was really talked about. I was surprised to learn this. The last time a Heisman favorite quarterback won the Heisman Trophy was 2004 with Matt Leinart. So that just shows you that the last time if you're a Heisman favorite, you're not necessarily guaranteed to be that guy. But I think things will get better for Arch Manning. I think these quarterbacks, the first week of the season, they will figure out ways to get better. Some of these matchups are difficult. Ohio State's defense is difficult to deal with, and they're going to make you look very ordinary at times. I think there's things that Manning will get better at, and like you just mentioned, like Sellers and Nussmeier and those guys, all those guys, yes, very fortunate to get wins. Cade Klubnik, Clemson, he was down 2 receivers in that game and looked very ordinary. And LSU's defense looked outstanding. They got after him. They tackled well. They pressured him. So these quarterbacks, I think the first week you kind of give them a little bit of a grace period, and let's see how that all plays out. By the time we get to week 3 or 4, I think you'll see a lot of different quarterback play and probably better quarterback play.
So the Deron Bland extension happened, Brian, and Todd Archer has broken down the numbers for us. So Deron Bland, his contract breakdown, 5 years, just a little over $97 million, 4-year extension with a max of $92 million. The bonus is $22 million.
Okay.
So this year he's getting $1.346 million guaranteed. Next year it's $12 million. Following year it's $12 million. Then it goes up to $21 million. And then the final year, $23 million. Now, Todd Archer continued that he's got an active roster bonus of $1 million for the next 4 years. They're guaranteed bonuses, and they're guaranteed for injury. It's fully guaranteed. So he's also got escalators for playoff bonuses if he hits 5 or more interceptions, if the playoffs happen. But it does appear that there's there's an out here. So it's basically 3 years with 51 to 52 million guaranteed. But if for some reason the Cowboys wanted to get out of this thing, that 4th year, I think they could without relatively no penalty.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. This seems like a very much a deal that's good for the player, but really good for the Cowboys if they want to, in fact, move on. So you always want deals that have flexibility to them, and this one clearly appears to have the right flexibility for what the Cowboys are trying to do going forward.
And hopefully, I mean, we know that there was at least some conversations being had with Tyler Smith's representation. Brandon Aubrey's a guy that I'd love them to get done as well. But that's the other wrinkle that comes with this Micah Parsons trade. Not only do you get Kenny Clark and 2 1s, but you now have freed yourself up money that you had earmarked really to pay Micah, that now you can spread around and try and re-sign some of your other guys. George Pickens could be factored into that if the season goes the way that they want it to.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is it. $40 million is a pretty substantial chunk of money to be able to play with. I know I was at the Star on Thursday, and I walked by Stephen Jones, who happened to come down the hallway. And I looked at him and I go, "Hey, that's kind of amazing how that all happened." He goes, "Well, we've actually got money now." So my next question should have been, "Well, you going to spend it?" That I just kept moving. But he says, so it looks like to me it's given them some flexibility. They were able to get Bland done. We'll see what happens now with Tyler Smith. They do have a 5th-year option on him that they can use. What about the kicker situation? Could that be something that we might see? So at least it gives them some options to maybe go forward here.
Now, the final thing before we get into our Dean Julia mailbag, Cowboys have named their captains, and they were doing so on a weekly basis during the regular season with Mike McCarthy. They're not doing that anymore. As Brian Schottenheimer said that he wants the same captains for the entire season with one addition for each game. So his goal was 4 captains for the season. And then Sunday morning, players are going to make a statement, and they voted for 6 captains. So you've got Osa Digizua, you've got Donovan Wilson, Dak, CD, Aubrey, and CJ Goodwin are going to end up being the Cowboys captains for the 2025 season. And Shotty said he's not going to have an extra captain for the season opener on Thursday. Those are going to be the guys that leave them out for the opener on Thursday. So congratulations to Osa, Dono, Dak, CD, Aubrey, CJ Goodwin. Really, I mean, I can't say there's a ton of surprises there. The one that I did see, no offensive lineman, and Tyler Smith apparently did get a ton of votes, but just didn't get as many as say, CD Lamb, for instance.
Yeah, that's kind of wild that, that maybe that Tyler Smith wouldn't be involved. But to be honest with you, too, when seems very participation like. We had all these guys get votes, that kind of thing. But, put your 3 best guys out there. That's where this needs to be. There doesn't, and I sound like
coaches should have just named them. Just said, "Hey, we're designating who the captains are."
I sound like a wet blanket guy, but 6 captains to me seems a little much. It just seems a little much. If it's give me an offensive captain, give me a defensive captain, give me a special teams captain. Give me one guy that everybody can go to if they have a problem. They can go and talk to that guy at their position or on their side of the ball. Offensive players, if they have a problem, they should go to Dak. Defensive players, if they have a problem, they can go to, whoever you want to put on defense there. And then, turn around and Aubrey, the special team stuff, if that's who you want. I think Aubrey's very deserving of that. This guy's a huge weapon for you. Those would have been my 3. I just feel like 6 is a little much, but that's me just trying to be like more streamlined. I don't want too many people. I want this to me is and he mentioned it. He's right. It's a very special honor to be a captain, but to me, it's not let's be captain and have 6 guys doing it. So my apologies. I know people are probably going to hear this and they're going to go, you're just being an old crusty dude. I just think captain, when it's a limited number of guys in hockey, they have 1 captain and a couple of assistant captains, right?
Yeah. Yep.
It's not like they don't have 7 captains or 6 captains just because a bunch of guys got votes. Take the top 3 and go with it. That's kind of what I would
kind of like that. And hey, you're just living up to the reputation.
Well, I just think I just thinking in the locker room, the ability to be able those 3 guys represent us. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not 6 guys represent us. There's 3 guys that represent us as far as, if there's problems that we have or leadership that we need. But yeah, it is very crusty of me, but I hated the different captains every week. I hated that. But if you're going to tell me I'm got to have 6 captains, I might hate that even more. I just want 3 captains.
I'm with you. The last thing is, we got some of the jersey numbers, and we got to talk with Donovan Ezeraku, who is an outstanding interview at training camp. I mean, this guy will wow you when you get to sit down with him in person, and hopefully he wows us on the field. But we asked him, he wore the 6 at Boston College, and he looked so damn good at it. He's wearing 41. I can't say I love it. So I asked him about it, and he also agreed, I'd kind of like to get out of the 41, but he wants a single-digit number, and the report from Clarence Hill is that that's not available right now, so he's just going to make the 41 pop. And I think eventually when he does have the opportunity to switch into the 6 or whatever it ends up being, he'll take that. But we're going to get Donovan Ezeraku in the 41 right now, Brian.
Yeah, one of my favorite 41s was Terrence Newman. That's one of my favorite ones of all time. So, yeah, it's hey, go out there, play at a high level. He's capable of doing that. They're going to need him. What if he wears 41 or 101? They're going to need him to play at a very high level, and because they're going to have to find a way to come up with pressures. And I know you and I did a lot of work on these edge rushers this year. I mean, personally, I thought he was probably the third best edge rusher in the in the college football. With Carter and Green at Marshall, and then also there at Penn State, were two other ones that I thought were really, really good.
All right, you are listening to the Love of the Star podcast. Love of the Star is an Audacy podcast you can find on the Audacy app or wherever you get your podcasts. Zach Wolchuk and Brian Broaddus hanging out here. Time for the Dean Julia mailbag, as it is finally football time. Week 1 is here, and I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am. Now, I don't know how good the season's going to be, but it's just great to have real football back, Brian. Mm-hmm. It's great to not be talking about the contract stuff. Let's talk the X's and O's. Let's get to this thing. All right. From Frankie J on the Twitter, I think a lot of people are wondering who the heck's going to be able to replace Micah in these 12-plus sacks, Brian.
Sure. Yeah. That's where Matt Eberflus is going to have to be a little creative. And, and you're kind of dealing with some guys that, let's be honest, there's some guys at training camp practice. I thought Ezeraku looked outstanding. I'll tell you another guy that looked outstanding, and he was starting to develop a little bit, was Nealon. I felt like that Marshawn Nealon was a guy that kind of could be a little bit of a sneaky guy when it comes to that. I don't think Sam Williams was particularly great. I think he was trying to kind of find his way on some of these sacks. We really didn't see a whole hell of a lot from Fowler when it came to preseason football, but we saw him as an edge rusher, and he's been a history of a double-digit sack guy. So yeah, they are going to have to kind of figure out, where this group really is the strength, and it might turn into them having to bring blitzers. It just might turn into that, because if in fact that Sam Williams is just okay, and Ezeraku is it's still he's not taking it from the practice field to the games, but I kind of feel like he'll be able to. But if they don't get the level of play, this could be a very challenging season for them defensively. Especially like I mentioned earlier, if Eberflus is not willing to bring more than 5 rushers and play zone defense.
Next question here in the Dean Julia mailbag, and this is a good one and I know that you've broken this down on a variety of different platforms, but for those that maybe didn't get to hear, can you give us a scouting report? This is from 805 in California, Michael, on the new corners. And I do think it's of note, now that Deron Bland is signed, the Cowboys have him listed on their unofficial depth chart as their nickel corner. So it's Elam and Diggs, and then Deron Bland. In a perfect world, that's their 3. Bland's kicking inside, playing the slot, with Reddy Stewart as his backup, and then Triquez Bridges is listed to back up Kyer Elam.
Yeah, I think to me with Reddy Stewart's the one guy that will probably be the slot player. And we'll see what happens, with, we were all kind of shocked. I think that we were all shocked when Zion Childers got let go, and here we are days before the game against the Eagles, and now we're working 2 corners with Stewart and Bridges. But I think Stewart is more of a nickel. I think he's got some quickness to his game. I think he can close some ground. I really like his ability to plant, to drive, and to carry some routes inside. That's always really, really big with me. These are all games, he played for Matt Eberflus in Chicago. These are games with the Minnesota Vikings. I thought he'll mix it up with the blockers. I thought he could stay with his man, and I thought he was able to adjust on the move. Now, I did talk to another scout in the league that's very familiar with the player, and he said he was kind of surprised that Dallas picked him up. He says he's a good kid. He's kind of a rough tweener, not big enough or really fast enough for the outside, and not explosive and strong enough for the inside. He's kind of a close but no cigar guy, not a standout on teams either. Good kid with above average skills to compete. Not sure how he really kind of helped the Dallas roster, but they're going to need a guy to play that nickel corner if it's not Childress. And I have a feeling that Stewart will be the guy that will be in the mix for that. I liked him a little bit better than my Gang of Seven scout, but we always like to hear the opinions of those guys and gals as well. As far as Bridges goes, he's kind of a long, and I was watching him. He's with the Chargers. He's kind of a long, rangy built corner. I think he'll come forward to tackle. I think he needs to be a little bit better with body control. Coming forward, kind of throws himself in there, might miss, but he's not afraid of the contact. Plays on both sides of the field, so that's the left and the right. He does well to get his hands on you. He's a long strider. He's got a really good time speed. I think he was in the 4.3s, but he is a long strider for that type of guy. I think he needs a little bit more of a burst in the films that the games that I watched. He is really feisty, and I like him as a press man corner. He takes a little bit to close on the ball, but and he's a little bit of a longer guy to have to turn and run. Not the most quick twitch guy. I would say Stewart of the two is shorter, more quick twitch. I think Bridges is taller, probably a little bit better, more of a better press man type of a player.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Bridges is a big boy, man. I mean, getting to see just some of him.
And I asked somebody asked me if do you feel like he will play safety, and I asked one of the coaches and he says no, he'll be a corner is where he'll be.
Okay. Coach Mike wants to know if the trade didn't happen, do you think Micah would have been voted as one of the captains by his teammates? And if not, what does that say?
I have a feeling he would have probably been voted by. They generally captainship kind of turns into your best players, kind of a deal. So I have a feeling, I'm not going to sit here and slam Micah Parsons and say that he wasn't liked by everybody. I think there's people in the team that liked Micah Parsons a lot and knew what Micah Parsons meant to the defense. But it's interesting. He probably would have been the captain, but it probably might not have been the most popular pick with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some people that kind of were like, I think the one thing listening to Dak Prescott in the press conference he had yesterday, I think the one thing that I took away from that, he is grateful that this is all over with, whether he's signed or gone. I think Dak is ready because I think Dak and others were getting tired to having to answer those questions. Is his team better because Micah Parsons is gone? Well, ask me in 2 years when they draft, they have, 4 first-round picks playing on this football team. We'll find out then. Right now, I don't think they're a better football team defensively. I really don't. And I would have been one of those guys, and I've said this on a couple different platforms. I would have been the one guy standing up and saying, "Are we really sure we want to do this?"
Mm-hmm.
Are we sure we want to do this? But anyway, but the captainship, I think he might have been elected, and but like I said, it would have been one of those things that very, very it's worth a mention. Put it that way. Because there's things in I think there's players that absolutely are fans of his, and I think there's players that are probably happy he's gone.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we know Diggs loves him, Sam Williams and him have a really good relationship. There's other players on that side of the ball that, they're probably happy that Mike is gone and they're not having to deal with him on a day-to-day basis. But it would have been interesting to see with Tyler Smith not getting elected a captain. I wonder, would he have? That's hey, we don't have to worry about that. That's Green Bay's problem now. And it was a little weird seeing him working out in that green and yellow today with those clips coming out. That's going to take some getting used to. All right, Dean Julia wants to know, would you start the game first few drives in order to get a run game going, something creative, so that you don't end up having Dak immediately throwing 40 to 50 times in the opening game?
Yeah, I think you got to have some type of balance in this thing. And the question was asked to me when Vach and I were working this morning would you take the ball or would you kick? And I think on the road, you play defense first. I think you play defense and kind of figure that out. And then offense, at home, give me the ball, give me the opportunity to move the ball. But yeah, I'm a firm believer of they're going to have to try and run the ball. And I'm not talking about just try and run it at the tackles. It's going to have to be, I would make the Eagles try and defend the whole field. And I mean, the counter stuff they've got, these edges that they have a little bit lighter than what normal. And I think you run at them on the edges and you pound on those guys, and you hope that the strength of your offensive line are those three inside guys. If those three inside guys can win against the three inside guys for the Eagles, this is going to be a very good day for Dallas offensively, in my opinion. Now, and you got to be able to control those guys, and then you got to find a way to make plays on that secondary. And I think with Lamb and Pickens and Ferguson, you could find ways to do that.
Kyle wants to know what's better versus the Eagles: the 75% Tyler Guyton or the 100% Nate Thomas?
Well, this is interesting because now all of a sudden we're thinking of Tyler Guyton as a 75% player, and we're happy with that. Tyler Guyton was probably one of the most scrutinized players other than Mozzie Smith coming into this season. Now we feel like that he's the next Rayfield Wright. And I say that with in jest. I say that with,
be careful with that stuff. That they'll
I feel like that Tyler Guyton made some really serious headway. I'm disappointed that he got hurt. Me personally, I think I'm going with Nate Thomas. I think I'm going to try and help Nate Thomas. I think Nate Thomas. Now, a lot of this depends on what's happened the last several practices with Guyton. Has Guyton shown that the mobility is good, the way he's playing, the body control, the balance, all those things that were good. But man, there's Nate Thomas has done a lot of work with this offense while Tyler Guyton was gone. So I might lean to start him if just to make sure that I had a guy that looked like that he'd worked with the team the entire summer.
Yeah, I agree. I just want the 100% player because I'm excited about Tyler Guyton and his improvement. But if he's not 100%, let him get to 100%. This is a long season.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I agree with you 100%. Let's get Nate Thomas out there if that is the case. But this is Tyler G. This will be our last one here. Not necessarily a question, but it is kind of. Give me one reason why the Cowboys make the playoffs, one reason why they don't.
Well, if they don't make the playoffs because their offense wasn't good enough, because the defense we all know they have questions on defense. This team is going to only be as good as their offensive line, their quarterback, their receivers, and the play caller. I'm not even throwing in the running game because we'll see how that all plays out. But they will make the playoffs because if their defense turns into, say, a top 12 defense, then I think that they got a good shot. They've got to find a way to plug some of these holes. Kind of some of the younger guys have got to figure out they're ready to play. They're going to have to get some contributions, big contributions from guys like Sam Williams, Nealon, guys like that, Maris Leofau, Murray, those guys, Sanborn, they're all going to have to play at a very, very high level. But if they don't get in the playoffs and they struggle this year, it's because their offense wasn't good enough.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if they're going to make it, they're a top 5 offense and their defense is getting turnovers for you.
Yep.
If they don't make it, it's because the quarterback's struggling. Maybe they've got injuries, and defensively it ends up being just an absolute Mike Nolan hot sauce in the eyeball looking defense again, where it's historically really gross and bad. So that's probably what you're looking at here. And this could be homerism. I think they're going to be better than others think. I still, even with the Micah trade, I'm not changing my prediction a whole lot. I still think they're a 9-10 win football team. I think this division is going to be super competitive. They'll be in the conversation to win it, but I think they can still get maybe that 7th wild card spot in the NFC and be looking at possibly getting into the playoffs. Now, once the playoffs start, all bets are off. We're used to that being an absolute train wreck and going home early, but I think the regular season, let's have some fun here. And especially on offense, I think that's what we're all hoping for. CD, Pickens, Ferguson. Let's see some creativity in this running game. But I can't wait for week 1 on Thursday, and I'm sure we'll have another episode Love of the Stars. We continue to hype this thing. Make sure, of course, you're tuned into the G-Bag Nation, 2 to 7 p.m. You can also find that on the Audacy app if you're out of the DFW market. We'll have pregame coverage 4 o'clock on Thursday on the official pregame show of the Dallas Cowboys with Eric and Brian. Brian and I will have halftime and postgame until 1 a.m. early Friday morning, following Cowboys and Eagles, and we'll be doing a recap here on Love of the Star. And also, subscribe. You need to. Crown Global Media, everything that Brian's gotten on there. And now I expect you to be wearing a bow tie every single show, sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that, man. Great show. Great show.
You're the man. There he is, Brian Broaddus. We love you. Thank you so much for making Love of the Star a part of your day. And a big thank you to the On-Time Experts. Make sure you contact them. Go check them out, ontimeexperts.com, for all your heating, plumbing, AC needs. Until next time, you've been listening to Love of the Star. Hugs and hand pounds, everybody.